Today I'm going to be reading Byron's Edleston poetry and some of the letters that refer to their relationship. Edleston refers to John Edleston, who Byron met when he was studying at Cambridge. Edleston was a chorister there who was 15 to Byron's 17, and they began what was termed at the time an intense romantic friendship. I've organised the poetry and letters broadly in order, but have put some of the letters later than they were written in order to keep a coherent story going for you, so that the whole video flows a little bit better. But I've put dates on everything where available. The first poem is the Cornelian, which was first published in 1807. And this refers to a gift that Edleston gave to Byron, a cornelian heart. No specious splendour of this stone endears it to my memory ever. With lustre only once it shone, and blushes modest as the giver. Some who can sneer at friendship's ties have for my weakness oft reproved me, yet still the simple gift I prize, for I am sure the giver loved me. He offered it with downcast look, as fearful that I might refuse it. I told him when the gift I took, my only fear should be to lose it. This pledge attentively I viewed, and sparkling as I held it near, methought one drop stone bedewed, and ever since I've loved a tear. Still to adorn his humble youth, nor wealth nor birth their treasures yield, but he who seeks the flowers of truth must quit the garden for the field. 'Tis not the plant upreared in sloth which beauty shows and sheds perfume. The flowers which yield the most of both in nature's wild luxuriance bloom. Had fortune aided nature's care, for once forgetting to be blind, his would have been an ample share, if well proportioned to his mind. But had the goddess clearly seen, his form had fixed her fickle breast, her countless hoards would his have been, and none remained to give the rest. So a footnote to the 1841 edition that I have, with notes by Thomas Moore, Byron's friend, and others, says at the bottom of this poem that the Cornelian of these verses was given to Lord Byron by the Cambridge chorister Edleston, whose musical talents first introduced him to the young poet's acquaintance, and for whom he appears to have entertained subsequently the most romantic friendship. This is a letter held in the Newstead archives, written in 1807 to Elizabeth Pigott, one of his teenage friends from Southall. And he writes about the relationship with Edleston, and also quite a chatty roundup of his life at the end of the letter. My dear Eliza, since my last letter, I have determined to reside another year at Granta, as my rooms, etc., are finished in great style, several old friends come up again, and many new acquaintances made. Consequently, my inclination leads me forward, and I shall return to college in October, if still alive. My life here has been one continued routine of dissipation, out at different places every day, engaged to more dinners, etc., than my stay would permit me to fulfill. At this moment I write with a bottle of claret in my head and tears in my eyes, for I have just parted from my Cornelian, who spent the evening with me. As it was our last interview, I postponed my engagements to devote the hours of the Sabbath to friendship. Edleston and I have separated for the present, and my mind is a chaos of hope and sorrow. Tomorrow I set out for London. You will address your answer to Gordon's Hotel, Albemarle Street, where I sojourned during my visit to the metropolis. I rejoice to hear you're interested in my protégé. He has been my almost constant associate since October 1805, when I entered Trinity College. When his voice first attracted my notice, his countenance fixed it, and his manners attached me to him forever. He departs for a mercantile house in town in October, and we shall probably not meet till the expiration of my minority, when I shall leave to his decision either entering as a partner through my interest or residing with me altogether. Of course, he would in his present frame of mind prefer the latter, but he may alter his opinion previous to that period. However, he shall have his choice. I certainly love him more than any human being, and neither time or distance have had the least effect on my, in general, changeable disposition. In short, we shall put Lady E. Butler and Miss Ponsonby to the blush, Pylades and Orestes out of countenance, and want nothing but a catastrophe like Nisus and Eurelius to give Jonathan and David the go-by. He certainly is perhaps more attached to me than even I am in return. During the whole of my residence at Cambridge, we met every day, summer and winter, without passing one tiresome moment, and separated each time with increasing reluctance. I hope you will one day see us together. He is the only being I esteem, though I like many. Marquis of Tavistock was down the other day. I supped with him at his tutor's, entirely a Whig party. The opposition muster very strong here. And Lord Hartington, the Duke of Leinster, etc., are to join us in October, so everything will be splendid. The music is all over at present, not with another accident. He upset a butter boat in the lap of a lady, looked very blue, spectators grinned, curse 'em apropos. Sorry to say, been drunk every day, and not quite sober yet. However, touch no meat, nothing but fish, soup and vegetables, consequently does me no harm. Sad dogs, all the Cantabs. Mem, we mean to reform next January. This place is a monotony of endless variety. Like it, hate Southall, full of old maids. How is Anne Betcher? Wants a husband, men scarce, won't bite. Mem, tell Anne to fish more cautiously, or the gudgeons will be off. Catch nothing but roach and dace. Right soon. Has Ridge sold well, or do the ancients demur? What ladies have bought? All disappointed, I dare say. Nothing indecent in the present publication. Had sat at Southall. No faces, and don't even mean well. Saw a girl at St. Mary's, the image of Anne Howson. Thought it was her. All in the wrong. The lady stared, so did I. I blushed, so did not the lady. Sad thing. Wish women had more modesty. Talking of women brings my terrier Fanny into my head. How is she? Very well, I thank you. Got a headache, must go to bed. Up early in the morning to travel. My protégé breakfasts with me. Parting spoils my appetite, excepting from Southall. Mem, I hate Southall. Yours ever, Byron. I'll just draw quick attention to the number of names here in that second of the slides. Lady E. Butler and Miss Ponsonby were the ladies of Llangollen, quite famously. All of the other references are to either gay or gay-coded characters in literature and history. This letter from John Edleston to John Edleston in May 1807 is in the Bodleian Library, and Victor Norton, the historian critic, has identified it as to Edleston. It was written in code, and the code was stored with the message. Written in May 1807, and it says simply DRT, possibly dearest. Why not? With this kiss, make me yours again forever, Byron. All of the next poetry is written after Edleston's death. Byron went abroad from 1809 to 1811, and when he returned, he was faced with a number of deaths. In October, he found out about Edleston's death, who had died 5 months previously in May, and he wrote a number of poems about his grief, often using the sort of pseudonym Thurza to identify Edleston. The first poem is To Thurza, written on October the 11th, 1811. Without a stone to mark the spot and say what truth might well have said, by all save one perchance forgot, ah, wherefore art thou lowly laid? By many a shore and many a sea divided, yet beloved in vain, the past, the future fled to thee, to bid us meet, no, ne'er again. Could this have been a word, a look, that softly said we part in peace, had taught my bosom how to brook with fainter sighs thy soul's release? And didst thou not, since death for thee prepared a light and pangless dart, once long for him thou ne'er shalt see, who held and holds thee in his heart? Oh, who like him had watched thee here, or sadly marked thy glazing eye, in that dread hour ere death appear, when silent sorrow fears to sigh, till all was past? But when no more 'twas thine to wreak of human woe, affection's heart-drops gushing o'er had flowed as fast as now they flow. Shall they not flow, when many a day in these to me deserted towers, ere called but for a time away, affection's mingling tears were ours? Ours too the glance none saw beside, the smile none else might understand, the whispered thought of hearts allied, pressure of the thrilling hand, the kiss so guiltless and refined, that love each warmer wish forbore, those eyes proclaimed so pure a mind, even passion blushed to plead for more. The tone that taught me to rejoice when prone unlike thee to repine, the song celestial from thy voice, but sweet to me from none but thine. The pledge we wore, I wear it still, but where is thine? Oh, where art thou? Oft have I borne the weight of ill, but never bent beneath till now. Well hast thou left in life's best bloom the cup of woe for me to drain. If rest alone be in the tomb, I would not wish thee here again. But if in worlds more blessed than this thy virtues seek a fitter sphere, impart some portion of thy bliss to wean me from mine anguish here. Teach me, too early taught by thee, to bear forgiving and forgiven. On earth thy love was such to me, it fain would form my hope in heaven. Second poem is Stanzas, dated to December the 6th, 1811. Away, away, ye notes of woe! Be silent, thou once soothing strain, or I must flee from hence, for oh, I dare not trust those sounds again. To me they speak of brighter days, but lull the chords, for now, alas, I must not think, I must not gaze on what I am, on what I was. The voice that made those sounds more sweet is hushed, and all their charms are fled, and now their softest notes repeat a dirge, an anthem o'er the dead. Yes, Thyrza, yes, they breathe of thee, beloved dust, since dust thou art, and all that once was harmony is worse than discord to my heart. 'Tis silent all, but on my ear the well-remembered echoes thrill. I hear a voice I would not hear, a voice that now might well be still. Yet oft my doubting soul will shake, even slumber owns its gentle tone, till consciousness will vainly wake to listen, though the dream be flown. Sweet Thyrza, waking as in sleep, thou art but now a lovely dream, a star that trembled o'er the deep, then turned from earth its tender beam. But he who through life's dreary way must pass when heaven is veiled in wrath, will long lament the vanished ray that scattered gladness o'er his path. Its poem is to Thyrza. It's less precisely dated, but was written in 1811 or 1812, and Byron altered the pronouns to disguise the object of the poem. One struggle more, and I am free from pangs that rent my heart in twain. One last long sigh to love and thee, then back to busy life again. It suits me well to mingle now with things that never pleased before. Though every joy is fled below, what future grief can touch me more? Then bring me wine, the banquet bring. Man was not formed to live alone. I'll be that light, unmeaning thing that smiles with all and weeps with none. It was not thus in days more dear. It never would have been, but thou hast fled and left me lonely here. Thou art nothing, all are nothing now. In vain my lyre would lightly breathe, the smile that sorrow fain would wear, but mocks the woe that lurks beneath, like roses o'er a sepulchre. Though gay companions o'er the bowl dispel awhile the sense of ill, though pleasure fires the maddening soul, the heart is lonely still. On many a lone and lovely night it soothed to gaze upon the sky, for then I deemed the heavenly light shone sweetly on thy pensive eye. And oft I thought at Cynthia's noon when sailing o'er the Aegean wave, now Thyrza gazes on that moon. Alas, it gleamed upon her grave. When stretched on fever's sleepless bed and sickness shrunk my throbbing veins, 'tis comfort still, I faintly said, that Thyrza cannot know my pains. Like freedom to the time-worn slave, a boon 'tis idle then to give. Relenting nature vainly gave my life when Thyrza ceased to live. My Thyrza's pledge in better days, when love and life alike were new, how different now thou meet'st my gaze, how tinged by time with sorrow's hue. The heart that gave itself with thee is silent, mine is still. Though cold as e'en the dead can be, it feels, it sickens with the chill. Thou bitter pledge, thou mournful token, though painful, welcome to my breast, still preserve that love unbroken, or break the heart to which thou art pressed. Time tempers love but not removes, more hallowed when its hope has fled. Oh, what 1,000 living loves to one which cannot quit the dead. The next poem is And Thou Art Dead as Young and Fair, from February 1812. And thou art dead, as young and fair as aught of mortal birth, in forms so soft and charms so rare, too soon return to earth. Though earth receive them in her bed, and o'er the spot the crowd may tread in carelessness or mirth, there is an eye which could not brook a moment on that grave to look. I will not ask where thou liest low, nor gaze upon the spot. There flowers or weeds at will may grow, so I behold them not. It is enough for me to prove that what I loved and long must love, like common earth can rot. To me there needs no stone to tell, 'tis nothing that I loved so well. Yet did I love thee to the last, as fervently as thou, who didst not change through all the past, and canst not alter now. The love where death has set his seal, nor age can chill, nor rival steal, nor falsehood disavow. And what were worse, thou canst not see, or wrong, or change, or fault in me. Better days of life were ours, the worst can be but mine. The sun that cheers, the storm that lowers, shall never more be thine. The silence of that dreamless sleep I envy now too much to weep, nor need I to repine that all those charms have passed away I might have watched through long decay. The flower in ripened bloom unmatched must fall the earliest prey, though by no hand untimely snatched thy leaves must drop away, and yet it were a greater grief to watch it withering leaf by leaf than see it plucked today, since earthly eye but ill can bear to trace the change to foul from fair. I know not if I could have borne to see thy beauties fade. The night that followed such a morn had worn a deeper shade. Thy day without a cloud hath passed, and thou wert lovely to the last, extinguished, not decayed. As stars that shoot along the sky shine brightest as they fall from high. As once I wept, if I could weep, my tears might well be shed, to think I was not near to keep one vigil o'er thy bed, to gaze how fondly on thy face, to fold thee in a faint embrace, uphold thy drooping head. And should that love, however vain, no, thou nor I can feel again. Yet how much less it were to gain, though thou hast left me free, the loveliest things that still remain, and thus remember thee. The all of thine that cannot die, though dark and dread eternity, returns again to me, and more thy buried love endears than aught except its living years. The following poem is If Sometimes in the Haunts of Men, from March 14th, 1812. There is some debate about whether this is about Edleston or, for example, Niccolo Gerard, Byron's page when he was in Greece. However, the references to death seem to point to Edleston. If sometimes in the haunts of men thine image from my breast may fade, the lonely hour presents again the semblance of thy gentle shade. And now that sad and silent hour thus much of thee can still restore, and sorrow unobserved may pour the plaint she dare not speak before. O pardon that in crowds awhile I waste one thought I owe to thee, and self-condemned appear to smile, unfaithful to thy memory. Nor deem that memory less dear, that then I seem not to repine. I would not fools should overhear one sigh that should be wholly thine. If not the goblet pass unquaffed, it is not drained to banish care. The cup must hold a deadlier draught that brings a lethe for despair. And could oblivion set my soul from all her troubled visions free, I'd dash to earth the sweetest bowl that drowned a single thought of thee. For wert thou vanished from my mind, where could my vacant bosom turn? And who would then remain behind to honour thine abandoned urn? No, it is my sorrow's pride that last dear duty to fulfil. Though all the world forget beside, 'tis meet that I remember still. For well I know that such had been thy gentle care for him, who now unmourned shall quit this mortal scene where none regarded him but thou. And oh, I feel in that was given a blessing never meant for me. Thou wert too like a dream of heaven for earthly love to merit thee. Byron includes verses on Edleston in Canto 1 of Childe Harold, published in 1812. The first is verse 9, which reads, There, thou whose love and life together fled, have left me here to love and live in vain. Twined with my heart, and can I deem thee dead, when busy memory flashes on my brain? Well, I will dream that we may meet again, and woo the vision to my vacant breast. If aught of young remembrance then remain, be as it may for futurity's behest, for me 'twere bliss enough to know thy spirit blessed. And also in Canto 1, verses 95 and 96. Thou too art gone, thou loved and lovely one, whom youth and youth's affections bound to me, who did for me what none beside have done, nor shrank from one albeit unworthy thee. What is my being? Thou hast ceased to be, nor stayed to welcome here thy wanderer home, who mourns o'er hours which we no more shall see. Would they had never been, or were to come. Would he had never returned to find fresh cause to roam. O ever-loving, lovely, and beloved, how selfish sorrow ponders on the past, and clings to thoughts now better far removed. But time shall tear thy shadow from me last. All thou couldst have of mine's stern death thou hast, the parent, friend, and now the more than friend. Ne'er yet for one thine arrows flew so fast, and grief with grief continuing still to blend, hath snatched the little joy that life had yet to lend. I've added in a letter here. It was sent in October 1811, and it was written to the mother of Elizabeth Pigott. It writes, "Dear Madam, I'm about to write to you on a silly subject, and yet I cannot well do otherwise. You may remember a cornelian which some years ago I consigned to Miss Pigott, indeed gave to her, and now I'm going to make the most selfish and rude of requests. The person who gave it to me when I was very young is dead, and though a long time has elapsed since we ever met, as it was the only memorial I possessed of that person in whom I was once much interested, it has acquired a value by this event I could have wished it never to have borne in my eyes. If therefore Miss P. should have preserved it, I must under these circumstances beg her to excuse my requesting it to be transmitted to me at number 8 St. James's Street, London, and I will replace it by something she may remember me by equally well. As she was always so kind as to feel interested in the fate of them that form the subject of our conversations, you may tell her that the giver of that cornelian died in May last of a consumption at the age of 21, making the 6th within 4 months of friends and relatives that I have lost between May and the end of August. Believe, dear madam, yours very truly, Byron. P.S. I go to London tomorrow." Added to this letter, which we have in the Newstead collection, is an endorsement from Eliza Pigott, or Elizabeth Pigott, which says, "I was from home, but my mother wrote to me about the cornelian, and I told her where to find it, and begged she would send it and tell him that he never gave it to me. He only placed it in my hands to be taken care of for him, and that I then restored him his own." The cornelian appears again in the last poem from March 16th, 1812, on a cornelian heart which was broken. "Ill-fated heart, and can it be that thou shouldst thus be rent in twain? Have years of care for thine and thee alike been all employed in vain? Yet previous seems each shattered part, and every fragment dearer grown, since he who wears thee feels thou art a fitter emblem of his own." The last poem, which was only printed in the 20th century, was written in Latin, Te Te Caripua, and because I don't speak Latin, I'm not going to read it out in case of mispronunciation. But I do have an English translation. The word Edleston was written at the top of the poem 3 times, making it clear to whom it was addressed. "Precious boy, do you treasure our ancient love? I hope you will forever love your friend. How incessantly I bewail your fate, dearest, and always my anguish grows and deepens, and yet how sweet this anguish is. My love blazes whene'er I think of having held you close. Woe, if only I'd lived more truly for you. My vain wish that I had died when you died. How meagre the garlands and maidens I've gathered when compared with remembrances of you. What's left now? To sigh or dream of sweet brotherhood, or weep the nights away without you near. Bettina, spare me from my enemies the fates, since friendship is dead. Let death be my friend." One slight correction. On a cornelian heart, the second verse should read, "Yet precious seems each shattered part."